Hey, welcome back to the No Stay Project. It is Wednesday, March 22nd. Glad to be with you here on the No Stay Project, trying to get back into the swing of things of doing a regular stream. Looking to do a stream every Monday and Wednesday at 7 o'clock Arizona time. I had to check that. So still getting into the swing of things over here. So every Monday and Wednesday at 7 o'clock Arizona time, whatever that happens to be, where you happen to be, I don't know. I guess it's 6 o'clock in California. Oh, wow. Is it actually? It's actually 9 o'clock on the East Coast, where I'm actually from. Although I'm sure that was pretty obvious to everyone that's tuning in. I am Marc Stevens. Glad to be with you here. If you want to join me on Discord, you just have to look down there, and it's Marc Stevens NSP. So I didn't actually open up the Discord yet. So I'm not the best at using Discord anyway. So I'm still kind of getting at that. Of course, looking here. Always good to log in and see this crap. I guess it kind of goes in line with what I want to talk about today. Just let's see what we've got over here. Yeah, they're all crooks. Yeah, they're all crooks, but some are far worse than others. And in the last number of years, or the last few decades, as far as open, in-your-face, gross corruption, the Republicans are far and away the worst ones, and their policies directly hurt us. So there is no question there. So I had planned on being able to do should be able to show the screen, but then I noticed that you'd be able to see. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to work that out just quite yet. I'm still trying to work those tech things out. So as people start to file in here on the No Stay Project. Michael Friend says he disagrees. Put in the comment something to show why the policies of the Republicans are not worse than the policies put forth by the Democrats. That I like to see, because it seems to be that there's an all-out war that the Republicans. This is what I'm talking about. This mug here, you can see right here. This guy is a prime example of just how destructive the Republican politicians have been. It's not the Democrats that are banning books. They're banning books. I did a video about that last year. They both agree on pointing a gun at you to take you. Yeah, that's about taxation. Exactly. They're the same that way. But as far as the majority of the policies, they're actively hurting people. It's not Democrats that are banning life-saving medical treatments like abortion, where women have already started dying because they can't get. And there's actually, let me look this up. I believe there's a hospital in Idaho that is not even going to be delivering babies anymore because the Republican assault on abortion has been unrelenting. And the idea that you can have an ectopic pregnancy where the pregnancy is that the baby could not be viable and the mother's life is at risk, even with an ectopic pregnancy, no exceptions. So here, I know you can't see it. I really need to work that out. Idaho hospital to stop delivering babies as doctors flee over abortion ban. Near total ban on abortions is driving doctors away, hospital says, leading to lack of nearby labor and delivery care for thousands. This is sick. Once they overturn Roe v. Wade, all these automatic bans on abortion, sometimes with no exceptions whatsoever, even for the health of the mother. And my gosh, there was a child, I think it was 10 or 11 years old, would have been forced to give birth. That is, yeah, the pro-life guys. So an Idaho hospital has planned to stop delivering babies with the medical center's managers citing increasing criminalization of physicians and the inability to retain physicians as major reasons. Bonner General Health. We have Banner Health here. Bonner General Health, the only hospital in Sandpoint in the northwest of the state, announced on Friday it would no longer provide labor delivery and a host of other OB services. The more than 9,000 residents of Sandpoint will now be forced to drive 46 miles for the nearest labor and delivery care, the Idaho Capital Sun reported. Wow. Highly respected, talented physicians are leaving. Recruiting replacements will be extraordinarily difficult, officials said in a press release. We have made every effort to avoid eliminating these services, the hospital's board president, Ford Alessier, added in a statement. We hope to be the exception, but our challenges are impossible to overcome now. And you've seen reports of these where doctors, they got to check with lawyers before doing life-saving procedures. That's what Republicans are doing. That's what these scumbag politicians are doing. They are putting women's lives in danger actively, and they're not stopping. So let me look at the what is a policy that the Democrats have passed in, let's say, the last 10 years that has put people's lives in danger like this. No, they are not equally corrupt. If you just look at an example of Trump, who couldn't possibly stop committing crimes. His entire life has been committing crimes. If you compare him to Biden, again, I'm no fan of Joe Biden, but if you compare the two, Joe Biden doesn't have a laundry list of almost daily crimes that are committed. And all presidents have blood in their hands. The drone strikes, for example, in the Middle East is just one. But Trump has the blood of hundreds of thousands of Americans for deliberately downplaying a deadly pandemic. So you can't, so there's, they don't want pornography given to kids. Don't know what you talk. I think that's more that QAnon crap of hardcore pornography given to kindergarten kids and first graders. That's just off the charts crazy. There are already laws on the books about possessing hardcore pornography and allowing children to see that. So those are not new laws. Those have been on the books for 100 years. So you've never made lesser of two evil arguments. Why do you change now? Because you're looking at the facts. Both are bad, but the other, the Republicans, are monumentally, an order of magnitude far, far worse. Yeah, I know on both sides, you got these scumbag Democrats that engage in insider trading. No question. They are making decisions on industries that they are invested in. Absolutely should be in prison. No question. But this idea of don't say gay? Wow. No, you're not. There is no hardcore pornography in children's libraries. That's just Michael, I've seen them in the school library. What kind of hardcore pornography is in a school library? I'm going to have to go ahead and I'm just going to flatly disagree with you there. There is not hardcore pornography in a children's library. That's already a felony. You don't need to pass laws to make that illegal. It's already illegal. I can get you the book titles. Yeah, hardcore pornography. Give me a... Oh my gosh, hardcore pornography in libraries. Okay. Well, speaking of the don't say gay, and that's the individual who is here. An ex-Florida GOP lawmaker behind the don't say gay law pleads guilty to COVID relief fraud, which so many of these scumbag politicians that are screaming about the student loan forgiveness have. How many of these scumbags have taken hundreds of thousands of dollars in COVID relief and PPP loans that were forgiven, and they're screaming about $10,000? So here it's reported that Joseph Harding entered a guilty plea on Tuesday in federal court in the Northern District of Florida to 1 count of wire fraud, 1 count of money laundering, and 1 count of making false statements according to court records. Harding faces up to 35 years in prison. Yes! It's about time these. I can't. What's the German rude word? A Schadenfreude? Or let's just call it karma. He faces up to 35 years in prison, including a maximum of 20 years on the wire fraud charge. A sentencing hearing is scheduled for July 25th at the federal courthouse in Gainesville. The former Republican lawmaker, shot to notoriety last year as one of the sponsors of a controversial Florida law that outlawed the discussion of sexuality and gender in public school classrooms from kindergarten through grade 3. Now, there was a great video where there was a hearing with somebody who agreed with these don't say gay laws, that they shouldn't be talking about sexuality and gender roles to children. And so one of the ones I would love to be able to play this, I just don't have the tech worked out. So this woman who is one of these don't say gay people was asking about George Washington and his family. And he says, well, who is Martha Washington? Well, that would be George Washington's wife. Well, under the don't say gay and the law that prohibits the discussion of gender roles, would you be able to say that Martha Washington was George Washington's wife? That's a gender role. That's the sickness. Because what it comes down to is they don't give a damn about heterosexuality being discussed and heterosexual gender roles, such as a wife or a husband. They don't like the gay. That's what they've got the problem with. It's to wipe out any mention of gay and homosexuality and trans. So, wow, what a surprise. The guy who is one of the sponsors of the Don't Say Gay is a crook. And not just a regular crook like insider trading. Wire fraud. 35 years in prison. This bill is about protecting our kids. No, it's not. You hate gay people and you want no discussion of that. Flat out, that's all it is. I can't. You can get me the... Well, it seems, Michael, that you want the government to enforce laws when it suits you. Like you think that there's hardcore pornography in children's library and you want the government to enforce that. It's in public libraries too. Well, those are government. Analogy, Hitler was less evil for killing less people than Mao. I think they're both mass murderers. I think they're both... This is not really the same thing. So in December, a federal grand jury returned an indictment against Harding, 35, who was accused of lying on his applications to the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, which gave out loans to businesses impacted by the coronavirus pandemic. He resigned from Florida's House of Representatives 1 day later. I give him credit for that, right? At least he didn't hold on. He's not like Matt Gaetz, who, well, again, when you're that high of a politician, you're Congress, not just the State House, you could do almost anything you want and not be held accountable for it. Harding fraudulently obtained more than $150,000 from the Small Business Administration, portions of which he transferred to a bank and used to make a credit card payment, prosecutors said. Yeah, see, it's socialism when it helps the poor, but it's not socialism and it's good when it helps the rich. So it's always good to see one of these rich political scumbags actually seeing the inside of a prison cell. Now, I kind of knew, because when Donald Trump's, when he's communicating, it's almost 100% a lie. So I had no doubt. I mentioned this on Monday's stream. No doubt whatsoever that that vile, what horrible person, that he was lying that he was going to be arrested on Tuesday. It didn't happen because everything that comes out of his mouth is a lie. And yes, all politicians lie, but not like that. Not like that. I will go and on the record again You want to see a politician that doesn't lie as a matter of, look at Larry Krasner in Philadelphia. I did look up before doing the stream, Larry Krasner, who, of course, was impeached by Republicans in Pennsylvania. I have not seen any news since January regarding whether there was a trial or not. So those who may not be familiar, Republicans don't like Larry Krasner because he's putting an emphasis on violent crimes, and he's not prosecuting nonviolent drug offenses and things like that. And Republicans just flat out lie, because that's Republicans lie at probably 4, 5, 10 times the rate that Democrats do. So they just lied and said that he wasn't prosecuting violent crime, which is the complete opposite. So when Republicans says something, just think the opposite. When they call drag queens groomers, just know they're the groomers. There was enough evidence against Matt Gaetz, my gosh. They have receipts. They have receipts. The lesser of two evil. I'm not saying that the lesser of the two. I'm not saying they're both evil, but it is far and away a matter of evidence, overwhelming evidence, that Republicans are far more nefarious than Democrats. How can Mark say, all right, this is my dog, Rex. How can Mark say gay is good if Mark isn't gay? I can say women are good. I'm not a woman. Mark isn't good for who? It's good for them. There's nothing wrong with being gay. Are we really going to go down this road again? How can Mark say gay is good if Mark isn't gay? I got to tell you, that's a really stupid thing to write. Good for who? His bride, his dad, his dog? It's not. When you say gay is good, actually, first of all, I'm quoting a show. I can't help get past the whole quoting pop culture and movies and TV. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It shouldn't be demonized. I look like when Michael's talks about cases, I meant, what is he, a political correspondent now? No, I will talk about court cases. I will, I just talked about one where Harding, this Republican lawmaker, that's a court case. He pled guilty, as he should have. But this particular broadcast, I didn't plan that. I don't want to do the same damn show every week. I mentioned that last week. I don't want to do the exact same show every single week. That's why I'm not going to be taking calls dealing with court cases anymore. If you want to hear stuff like that, there are hundreds of broadcasts that I've done that you can go back and listen to. And this whole thing about don't say gay, not talking about sexuality, it flies in the face of this whole Republican thing of small government. And now they're banning books. It's absolutely ridiculous. And so what I really liked, this is great. They talk about, oh, you're weaponizing. And Disney came out against the Don't Say Gay bill, and they got punished for it. Pretty hardcore by small government Republicans. So I like what Disney is doing in response. And again, I'm no fan of Disney. Disney to host Gay Rights Summit in Orlando. So the Walt Disney Company will host a major conference promoting lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender rights in the workplace in Central Florida this September, gathering executives and professionals from the world's largest companies in a defiant display of the limits of Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' campaign against diversity training. Disney's decision to host the conference this fall comes after a year-long dispute between the company and a Republican governor who signed a law that ended decades of autonomy at the Disney resort. It was seen as punishment over the company's opposition to Florida's parental rights in education legislation, widely known as the state's Don't Say Gay bill, which prohibits any discussion of sexual orientation or gender identity in classrooms before fourth grade. So again, you can't discuss that George Washington was married. That's gender identity. That's gender role. Disney has a long-standing relationship with Out and Equal, the organization behind the event, and is listed on its website as one of its most generous sponsors. Because there's nothing wrong with being gay. And if you have a problem, this is the thing. Leave in the comments. I want to know if you're opposed and you don't like people who are gay, and the whole idea of homosexuality is repugnant to you. Let me know in the comments why. And even more to the point, let me know in the comments, is it based on religion? Because I would bet the farm that 9 times out of 10, if not more, opposition to homosexuality is almost 100% based on religious zealotry. Okay? I mean, it's actually considered a crime in Saudi Arabia to be gay. I don't think it's a crime to beat the living hell out of your wife, but it's a crime to be gay. And it's punishable by death. They throw you off a building or they stone you to death. Let's see. I missed the sovereign citizens. They were hilarious. Well, I don't think I had sovereign citizens call the show too often, and I would hope that when we had a sovereign citizen that called, that I was able to walk them through some questions and show the fallacy of that. The Department of Education should be abolished already. Tell me why. Left, right, red, blue is worse than watching high school football, and the same mentality is on display by so-called adults. Well, the sad fact is we are still ruled by government, and I hate to admit it. But when you're wrong, you're wrong. When the facts are overwhelming, it's just like this idea that elections are rigged at the ballot box, where I don't believe that's true. I think it's rigged, let's say, like Republicans and Democrats, they gerrymander. That was one of the things I had to accept. Why would there be extreme gerrymandering if it was rigged at the ballot box? What's the point of Texas having in Harris County one drop-off box for ballots in the entire county? One. What's the point of that if it's rigged at the ballot box? So you have to accept the facts. The facts show that it's not rigged at the ballot box, because they wouldn't be taking so many nefarious measures beforehand, such as gerrymandering. And I used to be dead set against voting. And you have to see, but when you're presented with evidence, this is what we do as adults. When you're presented with counter arguments or counter evidence, Larry Krasner, if you're not familiar, look him up. Larry Krasner was a defense attorney in Philadelphia. And he got tired, according to my memory, he was tired of the prosecutorial misconduct. So he got elected to be the district attorney. And in the first week or so, 30 some odd career prosecutors were either fired or they quit. And in the first year or so, 9 innocent people were exonerated. That blows my mind. I know there's probably hundreds of, maybe not thousands, but man, 9 innocent people were released from prison because of Larry effing Krasner. And so when you see evidence like that, you have to change your opinion. Your worldview should conform to the facts, to the evidence. And that evidence tells me that voting, at least at the local level, does help bring about positive change. 9 innocent people are no longer rotting in a Philadelphia or Pennsylvania prison. So to anybody who says, never vote, it can't change anything, I give you Larry Krasner. Larry Krasner. That is clear and convincing evidence that if you vote, at least at the local level. I mean, I said, what, 6 years ago? If I lived in New Hampshire, I would vote for Ian Freeman. And I still would. And I'm not even on his network anymore. So, bikes and bullets rigged before the candidates are presented. Well, it could be rigged, such as what the DNC did by Bernie Sanders not getting the nomination. That the one of the worst possible candidates, Clinton, got the nomination and lost to one of the worst candidates that ever ran. Well, she lost the electoral college vote. She did not lose the popular vote. If schools are teaching explicit gay in schools, are they also teaching explicit hetero in schools? Well, of course, the teachers will have pictures of, husbands will have pictures of their wives and their kids. Of course, the example that I gave, we're taught that George Washington and Martha, I can't remember her maiden name, but anyway, George and Martha Washington were married. I was taught that when I was a child. That's explicit hetero. Maybe both, but there are specific gay pornography in schools. Why do we have schools teaching kids about sex? Because it is a proven fact. The studies have shown that with sex education and the availability of birth control, not only is there less sex, there's less teenage pregnancies, and less teenage pregnancies equals less abortions. So if Republicans were so concerned, these politicians, these scumbag politicians were so concerned about abortion, they would be doing all they can to follow the studies and provide sex education and provide birth control. That's what you do. Hey, there are actually people, adults, who don't realize that a tampon does not go in the same place as where a woman pees from. And that's because they don't have sex education. It's things like that. Sex education is very important. It's not about providing pornography, but it's about providing education about your body and how they function. This is not new stuff. Yeah, studies show first graders need to learn about sex. I don't think they're doing sex ed in first grade. And if they are doing that, it's probably geared towards their first grade brains, and they're not teaching them explicitly about having sex. I mean, come on, this idea that drag shows are explicitly sexual. I'm sure some are, but they're not for kids. This is why I'm just I can't. This is where you have people dying. This is where you have women dying because this reaction in this religious zealotry. This is what a lot of it comes down to, is religious zealotry. Why else? I don't see any comments here. No one's left a comment that if they are opposed to homosexuality, and people are gay, and they exist, and they're going to continue existing, whether you like it or not. Their existence does not depend on you liking them. But if you don't like that, if it's something that you're opposed to, put in the comments why, and I gotta know. Let me know if it is actually because you have a secular reason, or if it's religious based. Because again, I bet the farm. If you're opposed to homosexuality and trans people existing, it's because you're probably a religious zealot, or you were raised by religious zealots, because I wasn't raised by a religious zealot, and I've never had any kind of hatred or bigotry like that. I don't like bullies. Okay, so where you guys, maybe some of you guys, it looks like this may direct some of your hatred towards homosexuality, thinking it's perverse and it's disgusting. I don't like bullies. So someone had a comment. And I'll be wrapping this up here in a few minutes. What is my what was the word used about Trump? I've heard this before. People do, ever since 2017, that I'm somehow okay. Yeah, Mark seems to have a real problem with Trump. It's like a fetish. There's nothing sexual about it. Okay. Gay, good, but I'm not gay. It's not a fetish. What it is, and it's not just Trump. It's like Nancy Pelosi making millions of dollars in insider trading. She should be in prison. She shouldn't get to retire. She should be in prison. I have a real problem with bullies. I know it might be accurate to say it's a personality flaw. I have a real problem with bullies. I have an even bigger problem with bullies getting away with it. And there's no better example of bullies getting away with crimes, with hurting and killing people than Trump. The only one in modern history, as an American, that comes close to the body count of Donald Trump is George W. Bush. That vile piece of crap. And people like Ron DeSantis, who defended torture. This isn't like a public defender who has to take clients. And even then, the public defender can just walk away and quit. George W. Bush should have been prosecuted for war crimes, and he wasn't. Dick Cheney, war crimes. Condoleezza Rice, war crimes. And the same thing with Barack Obama, war crimes. It's just with Trump, it was so blatant, so in your face, so absolutely constant, nonstop. There's nobody that would be happier to never hear the name Donald Trump again than me. I hate them. It one of the most vile creatures on the face of the planet. And the idea that he can downplay a deadly virus leading to the deaths of hundreds of thousands of Americans, including people I know. A friend of mine did die insisting it was fake. Why? Because Donald Trump told him. And that's what my thing is. It's not just him. He's just the most flagrant, in-your-face example of a bully getting away with it. And getting away with it, and getting away with it, and getting away with it. And excuse after excuse after excuse after excuse made. It wasn't like with George W. Bush. There were plenty of Republicans who disagreed with the war, who disagreed with what he was doing, and condemned. You don't have that. You don't have that with the cult of Trump. And Trump was so bad, even self-proclaimed anarchists jumped on the train to grift as much money as they could. So I do have a major problem with people like Trump. But I also have a major problem with people like George W. Bush. And one of the things that gets, because I've known people who went to Iraq. I even had one on the show who was in Fallujah in 2006. He joked around about weapons of mass destruction. And it doesn't matter how I could get on the air. I could be on this channel and I could rail against George Bush day in and day out, and nobody would say I had a fetish about him. And that's one of the things that drives me crazy, is that people, instead of seeing Donald Trump as the problem, I have the problem by pointing out that the man is a mass killer. What do you think about Ron Paul as a politician? I thought Ron Paul was pretty good. I think Ron Paul, as far as I know about it, I think Ron Paul was a fairly honest guy. He was a politician. I don't think he was a serial liar like most of them. I think that I wouldn't characterize him with most politicians. I would say that he was the outlier, and I look at him the same, just not quite as much admiration as Larry Krasner. So Ron Paul, not your typical politician. The Congress Correspondents' Dinner, they all joke about their crimes. Yeah, the thing is, which one of them made jokes about mass killing? Mass killing of Americans. Even if you're this dyed-in-the-wool MAGA douchebag, it's got to bother you that thousands and thousands of Americans died. And Bush Sr. didn't know how to use a supermarket scanner. Well, things like that were a lot of the basis for the jokes in Arrested Development, which still is one of the top 5 greatest sitcoms of all time. And so the joke is, it's a banana, Michael. What could it cost? $10? So Michael Friend says, let's call it an obsession. No, it's not an obsession. It's just, you've got somebody who has been in the center of the news and has just saturated the culture since 2015, where the majority of people realize he's a con man, he's a grifter, he's lying, he's a vile piece of garbage, he's a racist, he's a misogynist. This guy is horrible. And then you've got millions of people cheerleading him and giving him a free pass. I guess it's just I'm still bewildered that anybody that anybody could not only follow him but give him a free pass for literally anything. For no matter, it's like he said, he could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and not lose a vote. So Biden is a bad politician. But he's your typical politician. He didn't downplay he did not downplay a deadly pandemic leading to hundreds of thousands of premature deaths. So, is Joe Biden good, dog wreck? No, but Trump is an order of magnitude worse, far worse. Remember, Bush claimed he choked on a pretzel. I don't think this is fake. You're gonna have to let me look. I think one of my favorite parts of the Bush administration was when someone threw a shoe at George Bush. Threw shoe. Oh, it's actually apparently real. That there is a monument. Wow, this is going back. Holy crap! This is 2009. They built there's a shoe monument in Tikrit, Iraq. A giant monument of a shoe in honor of the journalist who threw his footwear at former U.S. President George W. Bush. What was impressive was that George Bush, his reflexes, given the fact that he was a pretty hardcore alcoholic, he actually dodged 2 shoes, and that guy was fairly close to him. So, hey, that's going to do it. I'm actually getting. I'm getting the signal there that my battery is running low. I do apologize. If you want to help support the show, and maybe so that I can plug my camera in and not rely on a battery and I can get a full 1 hour stream again, you can do so in the description, and you can get one of these awesome Anarchy shirts right here, made right here in Mesa, Arizona, or you can get one of the shirts that have the shirt logo and whatnot, the show logo, in the description. You want to if you want to get a copy of the books to help support the show, you could do all that. All of those links are in the description. So I apologize for not being able to do a full hour, but hey, I'm not one of these guys. And that's the thing. Anytime you hear one of these commentators, anytime they say, and no one's talking about it. 99% of the time, they're full of crap. It's just to get your attention. It's just, hey, look at me, look at me. I know what they don't know. And it's usually BS, because how do they know about it? You know, I have an HOA problem. Nobody's talking about it. Well, you're just not hearing about it because it's not on the news, because it's a local thing that nobody gives a damn about. But when they get on there and say they have this explosive news that no one is talking about, that's when that's clickbait. That's clickbait. You know, because sure. You can use a paint can and make an A on a t-shirt. Yeah, you could do that. Stahl. My dog Rex is saying shirt looks like a Rush album cover. 2112, baby. But man, was that a great album. Oh, and the Sex Pistols, never mind the Bollocks. Oh, yeah, but 2112, you know, what was a shame was that before Rush, you know, Neil Peart passing away, Temples of Syrinx, holy crap. Imagine being a 9-year-old kid on Long Island and hearing the Temple of Syrinx, the overture, and then right into the Temple of Syrinx. Holy crap. Wow. That's, yeah, good. How do you go to sleep to 2112? Really? I mean, I could see. I don't, yeah, Rush. I'm gonna, if the stream just suddenly stops, I apologize for that. But yeah, Rush, absolutely. 2112, Farewell to Kings, Hemispheres, holy crap. Permanent Waves was pretty damn good, but those three, 2112, Hemispheres, and oh, Farewell to Kings, good lord. I could just talk about Rush for the next 4 hours, and but then Moving Pitches. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm gonna run out. Oh, the Sex Pistols. They did the one album, never mind the Bollocks, but is there a bad song on that album? And what is that? 40, almost 50 years ago. Gosh. I'm going to have to go ahead. I'm going to have to disagree with you. I love Rush right up until Moving Pitches. I didn't want to hear Geddy Lee play the keyboard. I wanted to hear Geddy Lee playing, you know, Anthem. You know, I wanted to hear Geddy Lee playing the bass. Love. And for those who are not aware of this, see, if I had the tech down, I could just play it. La Via Strangiato. I don't know if there's anybody alive, and if there is anybody alive that has not heard La Via Strangiato from Rush, it's an instrumental that is absolutely a masterpiece. And you hear them play it live, like, my gosh, it's three guys. But if there's anyone doubting that Rush is one of the best bands ever, La Via Strangiato, yeah. That's what I wanted to hear from Rush. I didn't want to hear the stuff that they did in the mid 80s. Not so much. So it was really a shame that Neil Peart passed away. But hey, one of the greats. So yeah, Bikes and Bullets is saying thank you, Mr. Steven. Have a great evening, all. I'm going to sign off. If there are topics or court cases that you want me to discuss, I'm happy to do that. Leave them in the comments for me, and I will get to that on the Monday broadcast. So the broadcast, again, we're going to be doing at 7 o'clock on Monday and Wednesday. And if you want to help support the show, you can do so in the description. And if I'm able to, when we have enough support, then I can add more of streams and maybe go to a Friday, and we'll take it from there. Hey, I'm Marc Stevens. This has been a blast. I'm glad to be doing the stream again here live on my No State Project channel. Until Monday in the next stream, salud.